to have the unmitigated gall to approach the court as if we were trespassers and think that I'm not going to call them out on it, or that the court is just going to let it go by and not do anything about it and say, oh, nothing to see here. How does that happen? It doesn't. Not in a civilized society, Your Honor, and I got to believe that we're living in a civilized society. You know, it's mind-boggling, and that's really the quintessential question. There are two questions for you, Your Honor. One, at what point, given Patterson, their own cited case, at what point did King become a trespasser? Did you advise him that he was a trespasser? And the other question is, what impact will killing public comment have on black and brown who for 10 years never got a chance to get licenses and never got a chance to bring their concerns before the board in a public sense on TV? And that's important because the public's derivative right to hear it is almost as important as the speaker's right to say it. That's the law. You know it and I know it, Your Honor. So let's see. You know, what's going to happen in the courtroom, I don't know. But I do know that I'm not a criminal and I'm not a trespasser. I'm a licensee or an invitee, unlike Patterson. God.
One more thing about trespass, okay? Your Honor, I know a bit about trespass because there's a film clip I play online a lot. Well, that was a 2-day jury trial on trespass when the issue was really free speech. So I'm familiar with the content.
And he laid down in the hallway here. Okay. He's in the chair here. We turn the lights out, you come out of there, went here.
So that he was in it. What was he doing when he was in the boardroom allegedly then?
Trespassing.
The jury in this case, being duly impaneled and sworn, finds the defendant not guilty of offense charge. Lord is good. The events of this day, Van Doyle, is it like that? Complete.
Is it like that? The guy didn't shake my hand. Rob Tobias.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to get my BMW out of here.
Okay, and the cop, McFadden, Sergeant McFadden, who I'm grilling on cross-examination, tried to testify as to the ultimate issue of law, saying the jury was trespassing. Jerry Doyle, by the way. Anyway, that cop was dirty as they come. His perjured testimony put a man by the name of Alan Thrower on death row in Ohio. Well, there were times when he didn't have a death row, but whatever, you know, in that row. His testimony did that. The guy was sleeping in the car when his partner got shot and killed, okay? And he's a liar. And that's the kind of stuff that I expose. I did it when I was a lawyer, and I do it now, all right? So that's what I do, Your Honor, and you know, just the fact that they don't like what I do or how I do it, I haven't violated anything. And I'm definitely not a trespasser. I'm a licensee or an invitee. Okay, it's that simple. Attorney Gomes. It really is. I'm gonna walk my dog now. Goodbye. Pepper, you ready to go? She says she's ready to go. Yeah. Well, great afternoon, folks. You've reached another installation of KingCast Motorsports and Law. So just a little bit more I wanted to share about this because listen, this is a legacy case, okay? It's His Honor's legacy. There's a vacuum leak somewhere over there. There's a it's His Honor's legacy. It's my legacy. It's the legacy of the Liquor Cannabis Board, and it's a legacy case about the right to petition the government for redress and the right to be a journalist. These things are conjoined here, all right? And that's what's up. And for them to parallel me to a trespasser, in other words, a criminal, that proves, Your Honor, how they view me, how they view black and brown.
we're nothing but criminals. That's why they call their buddies called the cops on us in the hearing for 1551. To them, we are a nuisance. We're getting in the way of their white cronyism and their white solipsism. And that's a problem for them. And I definitely get in the way of it because, my education and the things I know that a lot of them don't know. Most people out there, most of the stakeholders, except for like Peter Manning and Mike Aside, a handful of others, they don't know the law. Those guys are pretty good. I'm gonna tell you, all right? And they have the facts. They get the facts to go after them too. So they are really annoyed by us. And here's the deal. Your Honor, yesterday I discussed the issue of the broader notion of injunctive relief because of what's been done to Black and Brown. And I left off with the Thompson case, with the Palmer v. Thompson case. But it goes a little further than that because Thompson, subsequent cases, of course, discussed, like in the Gamillion case, which was a gerrymandering case in Alabama, I believe. What it comes down to is what was the net impact on the legislation or the action, all right? And the net impact was unfair in that case, and it's unfair now because here's the situation, Your Honor. You've got a licensing program. It's this big. A subset of that licensing program is the, social equity. But you have a licensing program. And for that licensing program, Your Honor, since its inception, it has been historically given to whites. All right? That's a fact. In Discovery, we're going to do the numbers. But I can tell you the numbers. It's like 553 to like 7 or 8, something like that. It's ridiculous. Blacks have infinitesimally small amount of licenses, and we know this, okay? So, Your Honor, at this point now, what they're going to do is change it up so that there's no public speaking for Black and Brown that are getting these licenses. But for 10 years, whites have had that. How is that not inherently unfair, unconstitutional? I don't understand. Okay? Right. And again, we don't have to decide whether or not there was active discrimination involved. It's the impact now because of what they're doing. All right. Now, let's get on to the next issue, which is the fact that the defense counsel has put forth a frivolous argument. And that argument is citation to Patterson. All right? And in Patterson, the case they cited, Your Honor, it involves a man and a group of people, I believe, that went into a courthouse when they were not litigants, they were not invited, so they could have been maybe licensees or invitees to some extent if they were seated in the public gallery where you're allowed to be in a public event like court hearing, okay? But they decided to ask for the judge's oath of office and his bond, I believe it was. Okay. Well, they're allowed to do that for a minute, but they kept on, and they kept on, and they kept on. And they were told that they were trespassers, okay? I've never been told that I was a trespasser. Was I a trespasser, Your Honor? At what point, here's the questions you need to ask them, and we can make this hearing very short, okay? Counsel, was Mr. King ever deemed to be a trespasser? No, Your Honor. Well, then why are you citing to a case in which you know that the person was a trespasser instead of addressing the cited cases that Mr. King put forward? Well, Your Honor, Your Honor, there is no well. You see what I'm saying? There's nothing to come back from with that. And my point here is that, and that's the only question he needs to ask. What point did Mr. King become a trespasser? Because I never was. So why are you citing that case for my case? I've never run on past time. I've never yelled at them. I've never been profane with them in a meeting. I've never done any of those things. I have come before them. So let's do Your Honor, let's follow this through, Your Honor, okay? The Patterson guy in that state case came at a time there was no prescribed event for him to be there. He spoke out of turn, and he didn't stop. I was at an event that was prescribed for me to be there. I did not speak out of turn or run video out of turn, and I was threatened with arrest. And how is that not arrest? Okay, because if they're gonna take me out of there, right, and I'm not gonna go, I'm gonna be taken against my will. That's an arrest. So I was threatened with arrest for no lawful reason. That's a problem. And I really don't have to say much else, and I'm not gonna. All right? I left something at home. I've got to circle back and get that. But yeah, that's the best way. I mean, I do my best thinking when I'm in this sob, I tell you, because I just do. You know, I don't know what it is about it. You know, I just love to be in here. A narrow black man in a old narrow sob, narrowing this case for you, Your Honor, with my narrow puppy in the back. That's the thing. Yeah. I think, furthermore, I'm going to proselytize a little bit, Your Honor, I think they've always treated black and brown as if we were trespassers. All right? That's the problem, you see? And, you know, it's obvious. They try to say that I haven't, that there's no content-based or viewpoint-based discrimination going on here, but it's obvious I say things that really irritate them. And that's unfortunate. But their job as public officers is to sit there in the chair and take it. And if it's not a Q&A type of thing, then don't answer some people and not others, because as we get further into this discovery piece, I'm going to show you where that happens. But that's not an issue right now, okay? I've claimed it. Therefore, everything has to be taken in light most favorable to me, which means that they do engage in discussions with people when they want to. So that's what? Content viewpoint-based discrimination. I don't know what else to say, except that I'm not a trespasser. And it's a frivolous argument.